Hi everyone, that just sums up tonight, doesn't it? Here's the intro. What's happening? Right, we are back. We are live and direct. And welcome to Late Night Live. So as per the title, I found the quotes pretty worrying, and I'll read the quotes out because some of you might not have seen the quotes, so we'll get into the quotes. So the first one that I wasn't feeling was Bruno Fernandes talking about how upset he was with the referee and saying he was upset that the referee didn't apologise. You what? Anyway, that might be the maddest reason for... I mean, just say it, Mr. Pen, mate. It happens. A quarter of all penalties either get missed or saved. I missed one. I've scored right loads. That's what you should have done. Front it out. Have a set of bollocks about you. Anyway, he didn't do that. Amorim saying that we should have used the momentum to press Fulham harder rather than retreat. I completely agree. That's exactly what we should have done. He did seem to say that he thought that the penalty miss started to affect the team's confidence a little bit, and I tend to agree with that as well, to be honest with you. And then what Iwobi said for me is this is really worrying, man. This is really worrying. There are no two ways about this. This is not good. Iwobi said, "We knew if we stayed in the game, we'd get a chance. We've seen it before. United often sit off after scoring. We stayed patient, and when the moment came, we took it." But that's not the big one. The one that's really worrying is something that, I mean, it's obviously something that the manager wants. He says, "We knew that there'd be space in behind. The way that the midfield sets up, we knew that there would be space in front of the defence, and we thought we could exploit that." Now, he's getting a bit carried away there because they didn't really exploit that. But I think it does push on to a larger sort of issue with this team. Put an hat on, because my hair's all over the gap. I've had a hat on all day. That's clearly not going to do, is it? It does put us in a very noticeable situation with the shape and the tactics that we have. Go all the way back to that West Ham goal in pre-season. And see how, I'm pretty sure it's Mainu and Agate, they press on high, enormous chasm of space opens up between that midfield and the defence. That has to be the issue that we fix. It's not necessarily, like, you can get Baleba in, you can get a fucking prime Roy Keane in. It isn't going to change until the instructions change, until the tactics change. Maybe the personnel that you've got in there want to push on and do that. But it happens to be every single pairing that we use, which tells me it isn't what they want to do, it's what they're being asked to do. So, that for me is worrying. Now, this is where we see if the manager has got the ability to be able to fix this. He might not have, he might have. We don't know. We have to see him adapt. Now, people want to talk about his shape and this, that, and the other. I actually think that the midfield two, in the way it is, does not suit us, right? Can we adapt and make it work? Yes, I think we probably can. I don't know how, but I think we probably can. I think we've got three good defenders, and it does suit those. It doesn't necessarily suit the midfield, but it does suit the defenders that we've got. So I do believe, and I also think it does suit our attackers too, but I think we can make it work because we've got basically the raw materials elsewhere, everywhere in the team. I don't know how, I don't know who the quick fix is, but I do think we can make it work. This is where we see the manager adapt. You have to be able to adapt. You cannot be so rigid in your philosophy that you go, listen, it's this way that I see football, or we just don't win. No, there's a few things at play here. You have to be able to find a way to win when you don't play well. You can't just play perfect and win. Doesn't work like that. You have to find a way to win. And Amorim's in a place now where he has to find a way to win. You can't just rely on perfect performances and getting the job done that way. He has to find a way to win, and he has to adapt this system to be able to get the wins out of it. Grim from SA says, Bruno or Amorim, it's the director's football choice. I don't know what that means. Shalonku says, Stiller as a deeper playmaker solution. I do have a video coming out on that. I think it's slated for Wednesday about Stiller. Stephen Flatt says 4-3-3 with a Premier League proven manager gets us top 6. Look at Spurs. I still don't know if we've got the right stuff in midfield, but you would argue that we probably would end up playing a midfield 3, and out of the midfielders that we've got, you could probably get a serviceable 3 out of the midfielders that we've got. Top 6, I don't know for sure, but I think we wouldn't be as bad. I can give you that. But the thing is, it's almost a waste of time arguing about or talking about whether or not to play a 4-3-3 or a 3-4-3, because he's going to play a 3-4-3. He just is. He just is. What was the Iwobi one? Let me get the exact quote. Pretty sure I read it out earlier. Oh, hang on. There's another one come from Marco Silva. Gaffer. We knew how they defend because we know they like to squeeze from the back 5. And if you don't give bodies for them to squeeze from the back, you can create superiority in the middle. We know they play with 2 in the middle. We tried to overload with our 3 plus Alex. It was as simple as that. This is where the manager needs to earn his salt now. That's another interesting quote, isn't it? Iwobi, we knew we'd be able to get behind their 2 midfielders and we exploited that today. We're getting told. We're getting told by the opposition where it's going wrong. Yeah, it is duty bound to listen. Super chat from Harsh says, if we buy Amorim Baleba, will he promise to win 2 games back to back? Scott says, embarrassing that other managers find it easy to play us. The thing is that we started off so fucking well, didn't we? We started off genuinely so well. Notch says we are still easy to play against. Is Amorim going to respond to this? This is the one. This is for me what he has to. He has to make us a little bit harder to beat, and that might mean sacrificing a little bit of offensive play. Now, he spoke about that because he saw that we sat off, and he weren't happy with that. Maybe you can get 2 or 3 goals up and then start to sit off, but if he doesn't find a way through this, he's not going to survive it. That's just the reality, isn't it? Delo had a shocker, says Roke. Yeah, don't disagree with that. What time does the circus start, men? Which circus are we on about there? What scares me the most is this time is that all 3 promoted teams have started better than us. Well, we've dropped 5 out of 6, haven't we? Let's have it right. We have dropped 5 out of 6. That is all you need to say about it, really. We have dropped 5 out of 6. Make of that whatever you will, but we have dropped 5 points out of 6 this season. Which is, well, it's not good, is it? It is not good. When is Amorim going to be questioned? Well, to be fair, mate, I think he's kind of been getting questioned permanently. I don't think he's getting away with it. Do you? Do you think he's getting away with it? How was Cunha and Bremo not scored? It matter of time, mate. I'm pretty sure they will. Super chat from LDN says, this is going to be our 3rd season finishing mid-table if we're lucky. I wish our fans had the standards we had with Moyes. We have become such losers. I don't like this argument that fans have lowered the standards. Standards adapt to what goes on the pitch. When we were champions, we had championship standards. Do you know how mental you would be now if you was reacting to the results and the performances that we've seen in the last year or 5 as if we were good enough to be champions? It's utter delusion. When Manchester United were the best team on earth, when we were winning back-to-back titles, you would see your arse dropping any points. You would walk into every game expecting to win. Are we home? Are we away? Are we on neutral ground? Is this a cup final? Is this a Champions League final? Are we playing the greatest team of all time in Barcelona? I don't give a shit. I expect us to win. Do you know how mental that would sound if you still had that mindset right now? It's just not realistic. And you're not going to do yourself any favours by acting and thinking that that's going to be a situation that you find yourself in where it makes sense to be having those opinions. How much of this is down to confidence? 3 wins in a row, surely only 1 missed pen would break mentality. Momentum is key, need that run. I agree. I do think this is a lot of confidence. We clearly don't... confidence or trust. The fact that we changed our playing style almost immediately when we didn't get ahead in front tells me that, yeah, you haven't got what it takes. Flew says Bruno has to have something in the contract, otherwise it doesn't make sense why he don't get subbed even when he played bad. I don't think Bruno's got that in his contract. Fraser says the wing-backs need to be part of the midfield when defending to collate solidity rather than a back 5. Our problem is systematic rather than personnel. Yeah, or I've seen teams that have deployed a back 3. Have I got a... No, I don't think I've got any here. I do have a book on how to play in a back 3. It's 3-5-2. I can't remember who wrote it. I don't have it to hand here, I don't think. What's this one? This one's 4-3-3, but... No, unfortunately this is a... What you can do, because I tend to agree that at times we look incredibly flat, like a 6, right across the back at times. I think it would be a lot more prudent for us to shift from being 3-2-5 to going almost to a back 4. So one of the wing backs maybe doesn't need to come back the entire way. Maybe if you're ball side, you just get back in front of the ball and don't go all the way back. Maybe the far side one, because he's got a bit more time, maybe he's the one that goes all the way back and then he pushes the back 3 across, so you make it a back 4. Because rarely a team's going to, certainly in transition, going to put 5 against your back line. Like, it's easily done. My boys at level 12 of English football, we attack in a 3-2-5. And if you've seen us play, you will see that we really flood that back line. Now, we're very fluid in how we play it. Only the goalkeeper really isn't getting involved in rotations. Ideally, my 2 centre-halves are part of the back 3, but not necessarily. As long as there's a 3, there's a 2, and there's a 5, I actually don't give a shit who takes up which positions. It's mental if my centre-half is at the back line, but there can be rotations within it. Now, when we transition without the ball, we transition back to a 4-4-2. So we go from 3-2-5 to a complete different shape. The most important thing is getting back behind the ball. So I don't see why United couldn't have the flexibility to go from a 3-2-5 to have one of the wing-backs act as a wide midfielder in a 4-4-2 and one of them tuck in and be the full-back and create a nice solid shape. Because defensively, and I think that book is here, and it genuinely one of my favourite books, something that I refer to in coaching frequently. is Diego Simeone's 4-4-2 because it's fucking godlike genius when it comes to defending spaces. It's brilliant. So I think you could do that. I think you could have the tactical flexibility to do that. And I agree, if you made the wing-backs mentally part of the midfield and became a genuine 4 with the 3 behind them, it would look so much more solid. When it's just the 2, they've got so much lateral space to go and cover that it just looks easy for opposition, doesn't it? Dr. Doombot says, bring in Humeland as a new number 6. Mainu will be our number 8. Bruno plays as one of our number 10s. I just can't see it. RK says, Ronnie Brown is right, Steve. Calm down. Ensfi says, bravest decision at United will be to trust in Amorim through the October international break. If we don't improve vastly regarding table position, we go get gigs. Wow. 17 Satch says, midfield. No manager sees the difference between top and bottom teams. Is Carrick passing the ball and tiring their legs? Tiger Claw says, Bruno, Cass, Mount look good, but we do need Mainu with Ugarte and Sesko swap. But you got to get Sesko into the team. You just do, don't you? You can't be just giving him cameos at the end. I'm sure he'll start to get games. But it's going to be a second before we get it, I think. Zetan says, I'm behind Amorim and want him to succeed, but part of me can't help think we'd be so much better playing 3 midfielders instead of 3 centre-backs. Maybe you're right. Ultimately, we don't know. The top and bottom of all of this is we hired a guy that plays a back 3 and we've backed him in the market to the tune of a few $100 million. He needs to be seen to work his system through them. Otherwise, you're just starting again with a new guy. And you're going to find yourself in this situation time and time again until you go through the ringer with someone that gets back properly and you see it out with a little bit of time. It ain't looking good for him now, though, I will admit. If you're going to play Bruno, then he needs to play further forward. He can't play the deeper role. Seems like he's getting sacrificed to accommodate others. I feel like others are getting sacrificed to accommodate him, but I think your point stands. Nari Gevel says, we need to say to him, we're backing you with a midfielder to match your system, or we're parting ways and bringing someone who plays a 3 in midfield. They might, but I don't know if that's going to happen this season. That's why I was saying he's going to have to find a way to win. Who would I replace Amorim with? I can't even think like that at the moment. I have no idea. Genuine question, is there one thing that Amorim has delivered as evidence that he's the right man, except beating City during their worst run this decade? On the field, I'd argue probably not. I think off the field, it sounds like the culture and the mentality is changing, and maybe the results and the performances take a little bit of time to click over after that. But I think getting the culture and the mentality correct first is required, and maybe you will see the results of the other stuff afterwards. But I agree, there hasn't been enough. Aram says 29 games, 28 points is criminal. Bring back Ollie. It's not going to happen, is it? Fraser says, when defending, I don't see any shapes for us. We look disjointed and just defend with individuals rather than a shape. I unfortunately agree with that. I do agree with that. I was trying to say that to Rio last week, that it was so chaotic. And that's why I was saying I see the game's going to be so high scoring, 3-2s, 4-3s and stuff like that, because I can just see we flood forward so much, but we are so open at the back. Notch says, let's get the Gone squad out and then assess. Thriller says, can I ask Rio, did losing and not replacing Scholes in 2013 contribute to such a drop-off in the Moyes season? Would like your thoughts on this too. Scholes was very much a bit part player by 2013. He was coming in having nice little cameos. I'm trying to think what our midfield options were in 2013. The bottom line is, Sir Alex Ferguson in his last 5 years didn't really get much in the way of signings. There were so many players that he wanted that he didn't get. He was coming out with that line, there's no value in the market. Do you genuinely believe that Sir Alex Ferguson believed that, or do you think he was trying to cover up from the fact that the Glazers weren't going to give him the money to spend? All I will say is actions speak so much louder than words. Look at what Sir Alex did from 2000 through to 2005 when the Glazers took over, and then from 2005 through to the end of the 8 years to the end of his tenure, and go and look at what we spent on. You know, the 5 years preceding the Glazers arriving, we signed Ruud van Nistelrooy, Rio Ferdinand, Cristiano Ronaldo, Wayne Rooney, Veron, just big names, genuinely world-class players. And then when you look at what we signed after him coming in, you're getting your Klebersons, you're getting your Alan Smiths. Yes, there were still some good players that we got for low value. The likes of Michael Carrick was an incredible purchase. Patrice Evra, Nemanja Vidic, but they were cheaper options as the result of a little bit of good scouting. But they weren't your Verons and your Rooneys and your Rios that you did real big money on, because the club was lumbered with the paying of the Glazers' debt and interest repayments. When you look at some of the players who moved in that time, Benzema and Varane and people like that, Sir Alex, without the hindrance of the Glazers, would have gone and got those people. You know, and I don't know who the midfielder would have been. Maybe it would have been Modric. Just trying to think back, you know, who would you have maybe gone for back at that time? I feel like Modric would have absolutely been somebody on his radar to replace Paul Scholes. Harry says, is it just me that thinks we're overreacting as a fan base? Also, why is it that managers getting everyone... We get in managers, everyone says they're good enough. We struggle and people say they're bad. Amorim needs to be kept around until at least the end of the season. I believe he should get to the end of the season. I think he probably will get to the end of the season, but it might suck. I hope it doesn't, man. I was so optimistic going into today. You all saw the videos. I think I said 3-0 this morning, didn't I? You know... That feels like such a lot. I mean, it was literally a long time ago, but it feels like such a long time ago and all. And I'm not going to be on here very long either, so R5 comes around with a quickness, boys and girls. So I will be getting out of here. So get your questions in. But Harry, yes, I agree, mate. I agree largely that, you know, everyone did this with Ten Hag, did it with Ole, did it with Jose, did it with Louis van Gaal, did it with everyone except David Moyes, really. They show a bit of promise elsewhere. We go, Jesus Christ, get them in. We get them in. The team isn't good enough. You know, the issue last season was a lack of goals. The issue this season looks like it's going to be midfield. Part of the reason why you're going to see a bit of an issue in midfield this season is Bruno was essentially part of the forward lineup last year. This year he's had to be moved back to accommodate him and the lack of like world-class midfield. And that might be the dysfunction again. That's why I've got the question that we had, you know, this morning. If the offer's legit of 100 million, I don't think there's a right answer, but I do think you have to consider it. Andy says we could use Leisha in midfield. I disagree with that, to be honest. Me and Rio spoke about that tonight. The game is entirely different. One of the reasons why I was asking Amorim about his system is my desire to understand this system so I can discuss it with a little bit more authority and a little bit more knowledge. I'm very comfortable with the roles and the responsibilities of everybody in a midfield 3 and a back 4 in a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. Largely the same sort of responsibilities despite the difference in formation number. I don't know enough culturally and inherently about how the back 3 and a midfield double pivot in this particular system works. And I want to know. And that's why I asked Amorim the question I asked him. And that's why I had like 27 follow-up questions, of which I only got about 5. But I would love to be able to pick his brain or somebody else's brain that's got a little bit more knowledge of this so I can understand it better and I can understand what characteristics are taken away from midfield and given to that extra defender. Now, I think what happens is we're all looking at a few different things here. We're looking at this enormous gap that happens in midfield when our 2 midfielders press and the defence drops off. this chasm opens up in defence, and we all go, we need someone in that hole, right? We're all doing it. I'm doing it, and I'm going, okay, I'll get Baleba in there, or get Wharton in there, or any of the kids I've scouted in the last month, right? Somebody in there that's got the athleticism, go and get me a prime Kante that's going to cover this gap in here, right? But even if you got a prime Kante and you put him in that midfield, or a Roy Keane and you put him in that midfield, if their instruction is to go press high, the gap still exists. You put Rio in defence, where Yoro is, still looks the same. Exactly the same. So I think you have to change the tactics or adapt the tactics. Maybe not be quite as giddy with the press. Maybe be a bit braver with the defence so it doesn't drop as quick. So the gap isn't quite 25 metres. And what we're doing is, because I'll speak for my own self here, but I think I can speak for a few of us. I think we don't fully understand all of the roles and responsibilities required to play in this system. If you take Lisandro Martinez and you look at the characteristics and capabilities that he's got as a ball-playing wide centre-half or a regular centre-half, I understand why you think he could play as a 6. Because I agree that he has got some of the characteristics you would want to see as a number 6. But I think that that's with an understanding of what a number 6 does in a midfield 3. You're looking at him as being the anchor, with 2 guys either side of him that are probably going to cover the half spaces surrounding him. And then a back 4 that would stretch out and cover those areas along the back of him. And I agree. One, he's done that. And he did that in Holland. But when he got to England, Erik ten Hag said the pace of the Premier League and the aggression in transition of the Premier League, that he can't play in the 6 in the Premier League, he's going to centre-half. Now, you change 4-2-3-1 into a 3-4-3 and ask him to be one of those double pivots in midfield, the physical demands have gone up even further. So, I was going to make a whole video on this, and I've kind of just done it. But I'll do it with the graphics and stuff like that. From a ball-playing perspective, Lisandro Martinez is a good option for someone that you would like to maybe control the tempo of play a little bit. However, when he plays as a wide centre-half in a 3-4-3 system, you're getting look at Lenny Yoro at the moment, you're getting those balls played into midfield, played into the forward line from the wide centre-half. The wide centre-half, as you saw Luke Shaw doing frequently today, has licence to step in and even overlap the wing-back. So, from my understanding of how the wide centre-halves work in this, Lisandro Martinez is actually, from a ball-playing in possession perspective, fantastic as a wide centre-half in this system. I think there's still question marks about over the physicality and pace of him to play the wide centre-half role, because unlike in a back 4 where you've got a left-back to your left and a centre-half to your right, and you're the guy in the middle where you can sometimes push on and smash someone a little bit, and you're only covering like 10-15 metres left and right of you. When you're the wide centre-half, that might be now 25 metres. That's why the likes of Aidan Heaven and Lenny Yoro look good in this system, because they've got the athleticism to play in that little bit of a wider role. I hope that has explained it a little bit for you. But that's my take on, we look at certain characteristics certain players have, and a lot of people have shared this, the same as you there with Lisandro Martinez, where they've said, can Lisandro Martinez play in the 6? He's got some characteristics that, in our heads, in a 4-3-3, yeah, he can play in that role, or I think he can play in that role. But there's 5 or 6 things that he can't do or can't do very well that make him unsuitable for that role. And Erik ten Hag clocked that. Erik ten Hag went, I got away with playing him in the 6 in Holland. I can't get away with playing him in the 6 in the Premier League. And then you ask him to play, instead of now as part of a 3 where he's got people either side of him, you ask him to be the lone one, he's going to get dusted. Notch says, so the single DM in an Amorim midfield 2 has much higher demands. How many DMs out there in the world can actually manage it? Don't know. Ridwan says 1 out of 6 points is just horrible. Yep. Raven says, I think Mazraoui could play in the 6. I tend to agree. Mazraoui has got incredible instincts for winning duels. He's far too defensive-minded and doesn't like going forward enough to play as a wing-back, unless you're going to be very, very defensive. I think he suits playing a wide-side centre-half phenomenally well. I think if you was going to play... If you was going to go to a team that you're like, these are going to fucking dick us today, I would go with like Ugarte and Mazraoui as my 2 pivots, and I would be mad defensive with it. And I wouldn't have them pressing high either. I would have them sitting in. You know, there was a reason that the likes of Fred and fucking McTominay could go and sit in and deny space against City away and break out using our quick forwards. Like, you got to play them fucking cards a little bit like that. Nari Givel says, we almost lost Wazza after losing Ronnie and Tevez. The writing was on the wall then. He needs time back. Him, it'll come. Love the content, Steve. Thank you very much. Rusty says, do we ever have the 5th or 6th best squad in the league? And if so, why don't our results match this? Because what happens is your results are dictated by the weakest player in your starting 11, not the best player in your starting 11. And we've got some weak players in our starting 11. We've got a weak midfield and a goalkeeper with biscuit wrists. Arkov says, nasty, we got to learn to let go one of Bruno or Amorim, and only one of them has evidence at being good at United. But one of them might be good longer. Am I worried at the lack of tactical change when Sesko came on, and what did I think of Delo? Do we need a ball carrier from defensive or midfield? I think we've got him in defence. I think we even need to change... We even need to adapt our tactics or bring in different personnel that are going to do different things. But I am worried a little bit of the adaptability going on. Ayush says, we've changed our attack. We still need 2 midfielders, a right wing back, a keeper, and probably 1 centre back to challenge for the title. Change takes time. Fergie finished outside the top 10 4 times in his first 5 years. Patience. Verma says, seems like both Ten Hag and Amorim's system need a 6 who can cover a lot of space for Premier League. They're difficult players. 256 United says, I hope we can beat Burnley. I have no idea what team he's going to play for that. Does anyone want to start taking a guess at what 11 he might play? Who do you want to see? Do you start Sesko? Cobby gets a start, doesn't he? I think Cobby starts. I think Aiden Heaven starts. And I ain't got a clue about the rest. Tom Eaton, maybe. Tom Eaton. Let's try and fill the 11 in now. See if we can get to an agreement on this. So I'm going Eaton, Evan, Ari, just to keep the H's going. Ari is the centre back. Fredrickson is the right centre back. Are we having that? Eaton in net, back 3, Heaven, Harry, Fredrickson. Do we say yay or nay on that? Do I mean Grimsby? Yeah, did I not say Grimsby? Did I say Burnley? I've been up days. Leave me alone. Grimsby. Talking about Grimsby. I'm going to say Ugarte and Mainu in midfield. Are we saying yay or nay on that? I think Ahmad. I don't think Leon. That's not a bad shout. I think Dorgu gets a rest for weekend. All right, yeah. My midfield 4, Ahmad, Ugarte, Mainu, Diego Leon. I'm going to put Sesko up front. I'm going to put Xerxes on one side. And let's be honest, it's fucking Bruno, innit? Is that the team? Have we just picked the team? Here's your 11 for Wednesday night against Grimsby. Eaton in net, Fredrickson, Harry Maguire, Heaven as your back 3. Ugarte and Mainu as the double pivot. Ahmad on the right, Leon on the left, Bruno, Xerxes, Sesko. That's your fucking team, innit? That's your team. Will Cheeto play before school starts? Robbie reckons he'd play Onana. He might use that as a game for Onana to get back in the good books, you know. Dazmac says 5-2-2-1 isn't United. Well, the WM formation, which is it's 3-2-2-3. You could argue that's a 3-4-3, couldn't you, really? Was Sir Matt Busby's formation, the old WM. It was 2 fullbacks and a centre-half. Not enough footage from far enough out exists for you to properly analyse the systems. Also, the pace of the game is it's different. Midfield was a box with your inside forwards as your attackers and then your attacking midfielders, and then your left half and right half, which was like defensive midfielders, but you had 2 of them almost like a double pivot. And then 2 wingers, wide wingers though, and a centre forward. What happens if we lose next week? Oh, it gets rough. It gets fucking rough, my boy. United says our fan base is funny. I don't think it's that fucking funny, I'm going to be honest with you. Mocha says, can Mbeumo play right wing back and move Bruno into the 10 with Mainu as an 8? Probably not a good idea, but curious. I think Mbeumo probably could play right wing back, but he's not going to move him around, I don't think. BC says things would be a lot different if Cunha's first 2 went in, to be fair. No doubt. No doubt. Douglas says, give up. Same rubbish as last 3 years. The clock is ticking and time's running out. Will Bruno leave? Maybe. Will things improve? Probably not. Well, aren't you a little fucking ray of sunshine, mate? Jesus fucking Christ. I'd rather live in hope and be wrong than live in fucking doom and depression and be fucking right, mate. Honestly. Mount over Sesko was a poor decision. Thought Mount played well, to be honest. Thought we changed and weren't as good once he came off. United says, I think we sell Bruno, Stee and get Baleba. I think it's going to happen this window. Cool heads and time is needed. Well, this is the internet though, isn't it? So that's not allowed. Lovar says the Amorim 3-4-3 seems to lack some fluidity in changing the positions. I think that's why it falls apart. Could be both managerial or players not getting it. What do I think? Genuinely, and maybe I don't think I've got time this week with there being 2 games. Do you know what? If I get a chance to, maybe I'm looking at my week. If I don't have a podcast for the Stephen Howson podcast booked in this week, what I will do is I will do a video like how I would fix our tactics, and I'll literally show you. I would do it at paddock training and film it, but we've got a massive game next weekend, and I am working on some specific stuff. Not daft enough to just fucking tell you what that is on the internet, but I'll be working on some specific stuff for next week. Very tough game. We're up against a team that's won 6 and played 6. We've won 5, played 5. Someone's has got to go. Working on a little bit of where I want my defensive line and specifics for how I'm going to defend against how they attack. I think you've got to be hard to beat. And that's what I kind of frustrated with Amorim at the moment is I think he's focusing very much on what to do with the ball and not what you do without the ball. But if you were better defensively, you don't need to score as many. That 1 goal that we got would have been enough to win if you don't concede. Do I think Amorim and his system of getting the best out of each individual player. I mean, of course not. Not right now. That's just not a chance is that happening right now. Luke says the players look more afraid to lose than eager to win. I mean, that could be just a hangover for the last decade, really, couldn't it? Burnside says, what are we talking about now if we'd have kept Ollie and given him this sort of financial backing? Like the players, when a manager's confidence goes, I don't think that they're going to last, and I don't think Ollie had the confidence he could do it with United. But what I would say is, the best football I've seen from any manager post-Fergie was Ollie. Sean says, why do I wear hats so often if your hair is so beautiful? Because I got to do my hair to have hair. And all I've done today is I did my walk, I've had a shower, and I haven't done my hair. So it's just easier, isn't it, sometimes, especially if I'm dicking about or about to go gym or something, to just throw a hat on. Tomorrow morning, when I get up at R5 and go and do my little morning walk again, I'll be doing it'll be another hat. But by the time I get to the office and record by the looks of it, 1, 2, 3, about fucking 7 videos that I got to record tomorrow, I'll have done my hair because I'll have had a shower and I'm going to work. But this one in the morning, yeah, I'll be wearing a hat. I got a lot of hats. JW says, I thought Ruben was supposed to be flexible with the formation. Why could we take a defender off the last 20 minutes and try and win the game? I think he needs to be flexible. People need to stop focusing on the formation and look at the tactics within the formation. Barcelona and Stoke both played 4-3-3. The execution of it was entirely different. So it's not necessarily about the formation. It's about the roles and the responsibilities and the things that you choose and select for within that. That's what needs to change, I think. And for me, without giving away the video that I'm going to end up doing back end of this week, I want to see less aggressive pressing from both of the midfielders. I think one of them can be aggressive and go and close them down. The other one needs to maybe manage his position a little bit. Think about how different it was from Arsenal to Fulham. Did we have these gaping holes against Arsenal? There was a gap, but it was nothing like what we saw today. And that, I think, is because they was a little bit more mindful of getting caught out in behind. We can do it. We're not showing it for 90 minutes, though. Kite says, you sound like you need a sleep. I'm fucking tired. Been up a long ass time. Stephen Harris says, everyday Patriot hats, are they a large fit? My head is huge. They're snapbacks, so they adjust to the size of your dome. Supernova says, can a back three win the league in a modern era? When was the last time a team with a back three won the league or a Champions League? Like a few years ago with Chelsea. And also, like, fucking Inter Milan was everyone's cup of tea just a couple of years ago to get into the Champions League final. Like, of course you can. Yeah. If you looked at the numbers of it, like, it's really uncommon. So the instances of people that have done well with it are low. But it's been, there's been instances of success. Also, you're like, okay, how many teams have been fucking relegated playing 4-3-3? Does that mean you don't play 4-3-3? Come on, man. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. Before I go, little shout out for yous. Pre-order is going to end tomorrow. You want one of these? Cool little features and that. You want one of these? Or you want one of these? Stretford Paddock FC shop. Google it. You're an adult. You can figure this out with your big boy pants. Or head over to my Instagram. see the pictures with them. If you comment away on the away kit or kit on the home kit, it'll DM you a link. Go do that if you want one of those. The pre-order ends tomorrow. After that, I can't guarantee you're going to get your size because we do order some over, right? When we put this kit order in tomorrow, we're going to order like another 10, 20%, something like that. But when they go, and they go, we've sold out we are 5 years of running a football club. There isn't a kit we haven't sold out. So if you want one, that's what you need to do. Go and get one secured on the pre-order. Otherwise, you're rolling a dice, and I can't guarantee you'll get one. Are we shipping to the US? Yeah, we ship worldwide. Worldwide. It's a pain in the ass going to Ireland for some fucking reason since Brexit, but we go worldwide. We are talking Alaska, Australia, Zimbabwe, fucking Norway, Argentina, everywhere. They go all over the show. That's it. Stephen Harris says, and they will go. They do every time. They do. They go. What I would say is size up because they are like an athletic player fit. So, yep, Caribbean. Oh, and do we have one for you guys? Around Christmas, maybe November, we will be releasing our third kit. And for those from a Caribbean persuasion, it's a very special one for you guys. It is inspired by the Windrush generation. And it'll be coming out about November. Righty. That's it from me. I'll be back in the morning. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'll just have to figure it out in the morning. But until then, see you in a bizzle. Bye-bye. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.